NBA bomb. Is Anthony Davis on the Celtics' radar? Here's what's real. Sources. If you're a Celtics fan, I know exactly what you felt when you read this. Anthony Davis on Boston's radar? Is he real or just another clickbait to waste our time? So stay with me for the next few seconds. I'll show you what's confirmed, what's just a rumor, who said it, where it came from, and most importantly, what it would mean for the Celtics in practice, without beating around the bush. Because this is the fans' pain, opening the video full of hope and leaving frustrated. Not here. Today, you will come away with clarity, whether this bomb is founded, what the possible scenarios are, and what Boston can really do. Let's do it. Before moving on, quickly, if you like Celtics and want news without the hassle, sign up now because we're in a race to reach 1,000 subscribers, and I really need your help. Seriously, when we reach this goal, the channel gains much more strength to deliver content more frequently, with higher quality, and reach more fans like us. So it's part of that moment. Click sign up now and enjoy. Leave a like so I know you want more videos like this. Activate the bell so you don't miss any updates, because things change quickly. Closed? So stay with me until the end, because I'm going to show you the sources, what's real and what's just noise. Now let's get to the video. On behalf of Larry Bird, I need to ask you in all sincerity, what is happening with the Boston Celtics and this rumor that appeared out of nowhere and has already taken over the conversation? Because there are rumors that are born small and die quickly, but there are rumors that enter the fan's head like a spark, and before you know it, it's already turned into a fire. And this one has exactly that look. On the one hand, we have a Celtics who are playing at a very high level, a team that, when it enters the court, gives that rare feeling of control. Defense in place, quick reading, shots appearing within the system, stars playing like stars, and the squad contributing without needing to force. It's that kind of season where you watch it and think, okay, I can make it to the end. But at the same time, there is a detail that keeps running around in the heads of those who follow it closely. A whisper that appears in big games, in moments when the opponent is pressing, in the minutes when the box becomes a zone of physical dispute. And the whisper is simple. What if there was a lack of a dominant big man when the series tightens? I know this bothers you because Celtics fans don't want to look for problems in a team that is working, but it is precisely because it works so well that the charge becomes even more cruel. When the cast is excellent, any small gap seems huge. And that's where the conversation begins. Neemias Queta, for example, has been a beautiful story within this context. He came in, gained minutes, showed energy, showed presence, showed that he belongs in the league. We see effort, we see desire, we see evolution. And that has value. It has a lot of value. But the debate that fans have in silence is not about Queta being good or not being good. It's about something else. It's about ceiling. It's about the kind of play that normally closes out a champion cast. Because it's one thing to have a pivot who delivers strong minutes, who holds the momentum, who brings intensity and helps the second unit. Another thing is to look at a playoff series against a big, physical, rim-punishing rival and ask yourself, who is the absolute anchor of the paint for 40 minutes? It's no disrespect to Queta to say he might not be that name. This is scenario reading. It's how the NBA works at the highest level. When the game gets small, you need people who decide. When the game gets big, you need people to support it. And then, as always happens, the rumor machine appears. It is almost inevitable when a team is at the top. A name always appears. A suggestion always appears. And in recent months, many people have started to select more down-to-earth options, names that make sense within a logic of necessity without destroying the structure of the squad. An example that came into the conversation was Ivica Zubac, a solid player with presence, who rebounds, who protects the rim as intended, who doesn't require the entire team to reinvent itself for him to work. This type of name is the typical smart adjustment. It does not change the team's ceiling infinitely, but it increases stability, improves a specific point, and keeps chemistry intact. But suddenly, the suggestion came that changes the tone. That suggestion that makes you stop and think, is this serious? Are they really talking about this? Because then we are no longer talking about adjustment. We are talking about an earthquake, and it was exactly in that place that the name appeared, Anthony Davis. I don't need to sell you on Anthony Davis as a player because his career does that on its own. When he's healthy, he's one of the most complete talents around that the league saw in the position. He changes the game on defense with blocks, reading, mobility. He closes spaces that no one closes. It covers mistakes that shouldn't even happen. And on the other side, he scores in various ways. He punishes in transition. He has touch. He offers a threat that forces the defense to organize itself differently. When everything is working, he looks like the kind of player who turns a very good team into a team that imposes fear. And that's where the rumor catches on, because it is impossible not to imagine the fit on paper. You close your eyes for 2 seconds and see Tatum, Brown, and Davis. You see the defensive versatility. You see the size without losing mobility. You see a bottle that turns into a wall and an attack that takes on an extra dimension. And then the fan does what all fans do, dream. And there's nothing wrong with dreaming. The problem is when the dream becomes certainty, when the rumor becomes confirmed, when anxiety becomes confusion. And here at the Celtics talk show, we need to do what passionate fans sometimes can't do on impulse. Breathe, separate what is talk from what is reality, and ask calmly, can it happen? And if it does, is it worth it? The trigger for this conversation came with force, because it wasn't just someone commented on the internet. The spark gained authority as a large voice spoke. Isaiah Thomas, Hall of Famer, people with history in the league, appeared and put his name on the table as a possibility, as a vision, as a scenario that would make an already strong team become a colossus. When a character of this size speaks, the league pays attention, not necessarily because he is confirming some negotiation, but because he is messing with the imagination and logic. If a team from the East brings AD, that team will become the favorite. And in the middle of this speech, he mentioned Boston. That, in itself, is enough for the rumor to grow, because fans don't just hear the phrase. Fans hear the promise behind the phrase, the promise that there is a shortcut to Banner 18. And I understand. The Celtics are a team with history, with pressure, with a shirt that turns the conference final into a moral obligation. We don't want to get close. We want to lift a trophy. So, when someone points out a path that seems to shorten the road, the fan's mind races ahead. But here comes the hard part, the part that no one likes to face, but that decides championships and defines eras. Reality comes with a medical report and financial spreadsheet. First, health. You can't talk about Anthony Davis without talking about it honestly. It's not evil, it's not persecution, it's not exaggeration. It's the central point. His career, especially in recent years, has become an eternal when healthy. And you might think it's unfair to reduce a player of that level to a sentence, but that's exactly how the NBA thinks when it has to make decisions worth tens and tens of millions. A team doesn't just pay for who you are at your peak. He pays for your availability, for predictability, for the real chance of you being on the court when the game is worth everything. And that's where the risk lies. Because the Celtics aren't building a team from scratch. The Celtics are already in contention mode. It already has an expensive core. There is already heavy investment. There are already huge expectations. Exchanging pieces and compromising flexibility to bet on someone who could lose considerable time is entering a roulette wheel in which the prize is wonderful, but the cost of making a mistake is devastating. And fans need to look at this without deceiving themselves. If it worked, the story would be epic. If it went wrong, the bill would come for years. And here comes the second point, money. Davis's contract is huge. It's the type of contract that changes the cast. It's not simply bring the player and that's it. No. To fit a figure like that, you change rotation, you change depth, you change choices, you change the future. You give up parts that help today and parts that could help tomorrow. And the Celtics in recent years have been very clear with the way they move. Methodical construction, calculated decisions, moves that add up without imploding the locker room and without killing the options for the next step. Brad Stevens, as a manager, has a style, and this style is almost the opposite of blind betting. He seeks value, fit, balance. He knows that the NBA isn't just about bringing names together, it's about putting together an organism that breathes together. And when you put a huge contract on top of a history of injuries, you are asking this body to live under constant stress. Every week becomes a question. Does he play today? Every series becomes a fear. Can he handle it? Every trip becomes an alert. What is the status? And in a team that already has maximum ambition, this can erode stability from within. There is one more element that many people forget when the rumor heats up: history. Way back when Boston was already interested in Davis, there was public noise involving his family and the idea of playing for the Celtics. That was marked. And as much as sometimes people change, and even though today's context is different, this type of past enters the room when a serious negotiation begins. Because the question isn't just, do the Celtics want it? The question is also, does the player want it? Does the environment make sense? Would he buy the project? Without this alignment, any great conversation is born crooked. So where does this leave us? It leaves us exactly where a strong rumor should leave us, divided between fascination and care. Because I can understand both sides very easily. I understand the side of fans who look at the league and think, if there's a chance to put Anthony Davis alongside Tatum and Brown, how come you don't try? I understand the emotion of imagining a suffocating defense, a dominant big, a presence that changes series. I understand the urge to say, enough with the almost, let's go for the final blow. This side of the fan has passion, has hunger, has memory of everything the Celtics represent. But I also understand the side of the fan who looks and says, calm down, this team is in place, this team has chemistry, this team has depth, this team is on the right path. Is it really worth changing everything for such an expensive and fragile bet? Because there is a silent danger, the danger of wanting to improve a specific point so much that you break the whole. And the team is exactly what makes the Celtics so strong today. The beauty of the season, when the Celtics are good, is that you don't feel like it's a one-plan team. He wins in different ways. He wins when the shot falls and when the shot doesn't fall. He solves games through defense and solves games through talent. It has stars that take over and a cast that sustains. And when you bring a giant piece, you don't just bring talent. You bring gravity. You change the role of others. You change the hierarchy. You change the rhythm. This can work spectacularly, or it can cost the essence that was already working. And honestly, that's why I like this discussion. Not because I want to turn rumors into reality, but because it forces us to think like a champion team thinks. It forces us to look at the Celtics as a project, not as a fantasy. If you asked me today here, as a content creator who lives this conversation with you, I would say that Anthony Davis' impact, in terms of pure basketball, is undeniable. When it is available and whole, it changes the conversation. He turns a team into an automatic contender. He makes his rival plan a series with fear. He adds a dimension of physical and defensive dominance that few offer. But I would also say that the Celtics, as they are constructed, seem more aligned with a path of consistent improvement than a risky leap that requires dismantling half the structure. If there is a search for a pivot, and it makes sense for there to be, I imagine a search for someone who brings security, constancy, and immediate fit, without requiring you to bet your entire flexibility on a single name. Someone who strengthens what is already good instead of starting the conversation from scratch. And here comes the point that, for me, is the most important. The Celtics don't need a savior. The Celtics need a complement. This cast already has leadership. It already has a star. It already has an identity. What he is looking for, if he is looking, is the piece that closes the door, not the piece that forces him to build the house again. So when you see Anthony Davis on the Celtics plastered like it's a done deal, be careful. Not because it is impossible to dream, but because the difference between an idea mentioned by a legend and a real negotiation is huge. The internet loves the word confirmed because it captures clicks. But fans deserve more than just clicks. The fans deserve clarity. And that's exactly what I want to do here with you. Talk to you as someone who loves the Celtics, but who doesn't accept being carried along by the tide of exaggeration. We can imagine the scenario. We can discuss fit. We can evaluate costs. We can understand Isaiah Thomas's reasoning. And at the same time, keep our feet on the ground and see what Brad Stevens tends to prioritize. Now, I want to pull you into this real conversation because this story doesn't exist without the opinion of those who follow it. Would you make that bet? Would you accept paying the price in depth and in the future for a talent of this size? With this history of injuries, would you prefer the Celtics seek a more stable, even if less glamorous solution? Do you think the current squad really needs this movement, or that the internal evolution is enough to reach banner 18? Write to me in the comments because I want to calmly read what you think. And if you like this type of more direct, more honest analysis, without promising what anyone else can promise, stay with me here on the Celtics Talk Show. The season is long, rumors will continue to appear, and what we will do together is separate noise from information, fantasy from possibility, age and strategy anxiety. And I tell you one thing, whatever the path, when the Celtics are at this level, the margin between history and frustration is small. That's why every rumor turns into a storm. That's why every big name moves us so much. And that's why, in the end, the question is not which name is more famous. The question is, which decision takes Boston closer to banner 18 without betraying everything the team has built to get here? And that's where we reach the final point of this story. The Anthony Davis rumor is the type of news that separates fans from bettors. Because it's one thing to imagine the Celtics with another superstar and feel those butterflies in your stomach. It's another to face the reality of the NBA. Cost, health, fit, and what you would need to give up for that to happen. And that's exactly why this conversation explodes, because the Celtics are close enough to the top for any detail to become destiny. Now I want to ask you a golden question. Do you prefer an impact blow that can change the league, or a smart and safe move that keeps the team stable and even stronger in the playoffs? Because the way Boston is playing, a decision like that isn't just another trade. It's the kind of choice that could write banner 18 or set everything back for years. So do the following. Comment below. I want to see you nailing it. Would you make that bet on Anthony Davis, or would you pass? And also tell me which center you would bring if it were up to you. I read and respond, because here the conversation is real. And for those of you who enjoyed this analysis and want to continue in this vein, I will direct you to the next step. In the pinned comment, there is the playlist Celtics Analysis. Click there now and binge watch, because it has content that will give you complete clarity about the squad, rotations, rumors, and the Celtics' real path to the title. If you really want to understand Boston, this is where you have to be. Don't leave here without doing this. Open the pinned comment, enter the Celtics Analyses playlist, and choose the next video. We're on this journey together, because banner 18 is not a dream. It's a mission.